Let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. The reason you keep getting angry, the reason people can bother you so easily, is because you've trained them to. You've shown the world that your emotions are up for grabs. Someone can throw a careless word, a side comment, a dirty look, and you snap. You break. You hand them the keys to your peace like it doesn't cost you anything, but it does. It costs you your energy, your focus, your relationships, your time. Here's the brutal truth. Nobody has the power to make you mad unless you give it to them. Nobody. Anger doesn't come from the outside. It comes from inside you. And if you don't get control of it, you're going to live your entire life like a puppet, dancing on the strings of other people's actions. But imagine this instead. Someone insults you and you don't even flinch. Someone disrespects you and you don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Imagine being so grounded, so untouchable, that people can't figure out how to get under your skin. That's not just emotional control, that's freedom, and that's exactly what I'm about to give you in this video. Not theories, not cliches, real mental strategies that will make you immune to offense, immune to being provoked, immune to wasting your energy on people who don't deserve it. If you've never heard someone break this down before, that's because nobody's been honest enough to tell you the truth. So stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share will change the way you see anger forever. The first thing you need to understand is this. Nobody controls your anger but you. Nobody. Not your boss, not your parents, not your ex, not that stranger who cut you off in traffic. People can say what they want, do what they want, act however they want, but the emotion you feel inside, that's yours. And the moment you blame someone else for your anger, you've already lost, because you've handed them the steering wheel to your emotional state. Now think about that for a second. Every time you say, "He made me mad," or "She ruined my day," what you're actually saying is, "I gave that person the power to decide how I feel." That's dangerous. That's like leaving your front door wide open and inviting anyone to walk in and rearrange your life however they like. You would never tolerate that in your home, so why tolerate it in your mind? The truth is, anger doesn't come from what they did, it comes from how you choose to interpret what they did. Two people can hear the exact same insult. One shrugs and walks away, the other carries it for weeks. What's the difference? The difference is control. One person understands that an insult is just sound waves in the air until you give it meaning. The other person builds a prison out of those words and then locks themselves inside. See, here's the part most people miss. Getting angry feels like strength, but it's actually weakness. It's reactive, it's predictable, it's saying, "I can be controlled like a puppet. All you have to do is pull the right string." And the people who know this will use it against you. They'll provoke you, they'll bait you, they'll poke you until you explode, because they know the moment you lose your temper, you lose the advantage. The strongest person in the room is never the loudest, never the one pounding their fist, never the one screaming. It's the one who refuses to be moved, the one who says, "You don't get to decide how I feel today. That power belongs to me and me alone." That's composure. That's discipline, and it's rare because it takes work. It takes practice to look someone in the eye, hear their criticism, feel the heat rising inside you, and then choose not to let it in. But let me be clear, choosing calm doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're letting people walk all over you. It means you're playing the long game. It means you're smart enough to know that anger burns your energy, clouds your judgment, and makes you easier to manipulate. Calm, on the other hand, makes you untouchable. Calm is calculated. Calm is how you keep your dignity when everything around you tries to drag you down into the mud. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, take a breath, remind yourself, this moment right here is the test. If I explode, they win. If I stay calm, I win. Because anger is always borrowed. It comes from outside, but peace, real peace, that comes from within. And that's the bottom line. Your emotions are your responsibility. The day you stop blaming others for how you feel is the day you take your power back. Because the truth is simple, nobody makes you angry. You choose anger, which means you can also choose not to. Control is calm. That's the phrase you need to burn into your mind. Not control over others, not control over circumstances, but control over yourself. Because, let's be honest, the world is chaos. People are unpredictable. Life will throw you curveballs at the exact moment you think you've got it all figured out. And if your sense of peace depends on the world behaving the way you want it to, you'll spend your whole life in frustration. The real power is when you can stand in the middle of that storm and remain steady, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you got stronger. Because you decided that calm isn't optional, it's your baseline. Calm isn't something you hope for, it's something you practice, something you defend. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem unshakable. They're not calm because nothing ever happens to them. They're calm because they've trained themselves to master the response. They've built a habit of control. They've learned that the louder the chaos around them, the quieter they must become inside. That is composure. That is strength. Now here's the psychological truth. Calm is not passive, it's strategic. When you're calm, your brain can think clearly. You can assess the situation without your emotions clouding your judgment. Anger narrows your vision. You see red, you lose perspective, you miss opportunities. Calm does the opposite. It expands your perspective. It allows you to see solutions, to make moves that an angry version of you would never even notice. And here's the part that really flips the script. Nothing frustrates people more than when they can't get a reaction out of you. Calm disarms, calm confuses, calm takes the power right out of their hands. Because people expect anger, they expect retaliation, they expect you to match their energy. When you don't, when you stay level, steady, unbothered, you break the pattern, you refuse to play the game. And that alone gives you the upper hand. Philosophically, this has been echoed for centuries. The Stoics taught that control over your mind is the only true freedom. Eastern philosophy teaches detachment, the ability to observe without immediately reacting. And modern psychology confirms it. Emotional regulation is one of the highest predictors of resilience and success. In every tradition, in every study, the conclusion is the same. Your calm is your strength. So how do you build it? You start by noticing the moment you're triggered, that little spark of heat in your chest, that rush in your head. That's the signal. And instead of letting it run wild, you pause, you breathe. You create space between stimulus and response. That space is everything. In that space, you choose. You choose to respond in a way that serves you, not sabotages you. That's control, and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, calm stops being something you reach for in emergencies. It becomes your default state. You walk into conversations differently. You handle conflict differently. You stop wasting energy on battles that don't matter. You carry yourself with quiet confidence, and people notice it. They feel it because here's the paradox. The calmer you are, the more power you actually hold. Not the power to dominate others, but the power to dominate yourself, and the one who controls themselves controls the outcome. So remember this, anger burns fast, but calm lasts, and if you want to win not just in arguments, but in life, your calm is non-negotiable. Control is calm, and calm is power. You can't be offended if you refuse to participate. That's the principle most people never learn. See, offense isn't something that happens to you. It's something you agree to. And the moment you agree, you're caught. You've stepped onto the battlefield someone else built, and now you're fighting a war that was never yours to begin with. Think about it. When someone insults you, what are they really doing? They're sending an invitation. That insult is an envelope with your name on it, daring you to open it. But here's the part that flips your perspective. You don't have to. You don't have to open every invitation that lands at your feet. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Most of the time, the real victory is in not showing up at all. The reason so many people get offended is because they assume that every comment about them deserves a response. They live in constant defense mode, but here's the truth. You don't need to defend yourself to people who don't matter. Their words only carry weight if you hand them the authority. When you ignore them, when you choose not to engage, you strip their words of power. And what's left? Just noise, empty noise. This is where philosophy and psychology meet. Philosophers have always taught that dignity is not something others can take, it's something you give away. And modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that when we ruminate on insults, we amplify them. We repeat them in our minds, we magnify the sting, and we essentially wound ourselves long after the moment has passed. But when we detach, when we let the words fall to the ground instead of planting them in our heads, they lose their energy instantly. Refusing to be offended isn't about arrogance, it's about discipline. It's about recognizing that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every voice is worth hearing. Some people are trying to provoke you simply because they're empty. They want to see you react because your reaction makes them feel relevant. When you don't react, when you stay silent, when you walk away, you're telling them without words, you don't qualify to disturb my peace. That's not weakness. That's mastery. And here's something practical to remember. Silence speaks louder than retaliation. Retaliation says, "You got to me." Silence says, "You're invisible to me." One drains you, the other frees you. One keeps the fire burning, the other starves it of oxygen until it dies out completely. But let's not confuse refusing offense with letting people disrespect you. It's not about tolerating abuse. It's about choosing your battlefield wisely. When something truly matters, your values, your integrity, your loved ones, that's when you stand firm. But petty words, cheap shots, they don't deserve a second of your time. So the next time someone comes at you with negativity, picture yourself holding that envelope. You can open it, let it poison your day, argue, fight, spiral. Or you can drop it right there on the ground, unopened, untouched, irrelevant. That's the choice, that's the discipline, because the truth is, nobody bothers you without your participation. Offense needs your agreement to survive. Take that agreement away, and the whole game collapses. And if you take one thing from this, let it be this: strength isn't proven by how loudly you fight. It's proven by how easily you walk away from what doesn't deserve you.